Hello everyone, Darren here, and on today's episode we are going to look at how to play the Tier 10 American heavy tank, the T110E5. This tank could easily be argued that it is a heavy medium, and is, in my opinion, a very good tank to introduce medium players to heavy tanks. So let's get started. Now, the armor of the T110E5 is a typical American armor setup of a good turret armor and a familiar boat-like hull found on the other Tier 10 American tanks. Frontally, there are two weak points that you should be aware of. One is the weak lower plate that, when angled correctly, can bounce some shots, but never should be relied upon. The other is the large cupola that has, in my experience, been found to be pretty trollish even in its current balanced form, whether or not you think the tank is balanced still or not. The cupola can bounce some shots that, if hit in the right spot, rounds will pen, and expect pens if the enemy is shooting heat. It's the same thing like the 277. You may bounce shots that you expected to pen and have shots pen your cupola that you expected to bounce. And as usual, the top and rear of the tank is very weakly armored and susceptible to HE and artillery. Now, mobility on the E5 is pretty average in terms of mobility. Forward speed is pretty meh. We're at 37 kilometers per hour forward with a slow reverse speed of 12 kilometers per hour. So you have no problem hanging with a pack of heavies, but do not expect to be able to back out of trouble quickly. Now, the chance of fire is at 20%, so I strongly recommend packing a fire extinguisher and or training firefighting perks on your crew. Looking at the gun now, regarding the gun, it has some pretty average, in my opinion, stats with a base reload of 10 seconds and an accuracy of 0.35, which is in the ballpark of some other heavies as well as mediums. Now, for the gun elevation and depression, the T110E5 has a max elevation of 15 degrees and a bare minimum gun depression of any NATO-style tanks in the game of 8 degrees. So you can fight ridgelines, but you will not be able to effectively fight the same ridgeline as many mediums or other tanks with greater gun depression. Not to mention the fact that your cupola will present itself before you actually get to present the gun to the enemy. So be aware of that as well. Now, how do you set up the T110E5? Well, in terms of consumables, I run 22 AP and 20 heat, 0 HE because I do not like non-HESH-like rounds. I also run 2 repair kits and a first aid kit. I do not run a fire extinguisher because I have firefighting skills trained on my crew, as well as the fact that over playing this tank for about 6-7 years now, I have learned to try and keep the rear of this tank specifically away from the enemy guns, so pretty much keeping, not showing my butt to the enemy. Being aggressive enough with that tank, you kind of learn to do that, especially when you're sometimes are caught out alone. You learn to play much like a casemate TD in a sense. Now, for equipment, I use a gun rammer, vertical stabilizers, and vents to improve the gun characteristics. Of course, if your goal is to increase the vision as much as possible, you can swap vents for optics if you wish to do so. I don't run optics because I like to play this tank up front, in your face. It feels flexible enough to be able to do that, and my own personal doctrine when it comes to heavy tanks is they are not supposed to be like medium tanks. They're supposed to be up front fighting. So I do not run optics because I expect to be fighting tanks less than 20-50 meters in front of me, not long-range sniping or doing actions that light tanks, TDs, or medium tanks should be doing. Now, how do you play the T110E5? Well, I found to be playing it like a support heavy. If you played the M48 Patton, you will honestly feel very comfortable in this tank. While the speed is not the same as the 48 Patton, you will find that you can take this tank almost to the same positions that you would normally take a 48 Patton. Because of this reason alone, I play the tank very aggressively. I often find myself with a group of heavies normally to start out with or in heavy brawling situations. But I'm confident enough in my armor that I'm not afraid to push up to the aggressive medium positions and support them on their front line. And overall, I feel the T110E5 is the bridge that crosses the gap between a medium tank and a heavy, thus why I support that this tank would be a good introduction to heavy tanks for the medium players that have never played Tier 10 heavy tanks before. But that concludes the overview of the T110E5. Now let's go look at some gameplay. So here we are on Rezanai. I'm probably butchering the name. I have never bothered to look. But we are on the assault game mode. I am on the attacking team. And right now there's really not much else to figure out what's going on. I'm just waiting to go. First thing I do is I'll be checking the lineup. I obviously knew I was going to be top tier, but I wanted to see what was on the enemy team. First things first is that I noticed that the enemy artillery is a 58, so in my mind that means they have 4 artillery pieces on their team compared to our 2. So what I'm going to do right away is I'm going to push up to the castle. I always feel the castle is an important part of this map. It should never be ignored. You should never just ignore it, because you pretty much have given a fortification for the enemy to hole up in, much like an Alamo, for those that know what I'm talking about. And it's also a little bit already safe too, with those very tall straight line structures. So I'm going to push up in that general area. Now, when I first was heading this way, I was expecting to meet opposition at the G1 area, but instead a light tank was up there. I got detected. I did try and do a snapshot just in case, because you know I was actually having some good RNG this the day that I was recording this. So I tried a snapshot, did not work, landed a little bit too low. So I'm actually going to push left here just in case, because I figured that if the light tank was up there, there might be mediums up here as well. So I was going to try and push left and see if I could get the jump on them. Also, I saw that there was some tanks right there in the middle along the 7-8 line, so I wanted to see if I could get some eyes on there as well. But here I am trying to see if I could get a jump on anyone that was in that corner. Currently, so far, the courtyard of this castle is barren, which is very, very rare in most cases on this game mode, this map. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep pushing along the edge of this. I noticed on my mini-map a TD got spotted right there in the courtyard. I'm figuring that since I'm not spotted, I didn't spot him, I'm going to be able to get some side shots. It's distracted. Turns out there is a platoon of T110E4s right there, and I put a nice good side shot in an E4 who went out of position to try and get a shot. He did not know I was there, or was tunnel visioning and didn't realize it. So these E4s are now in this position. Now, if they decided to both focus me and come at me, I probably would be in some serious trouble. So what I'm going to try and do is I'm trying to push up, try and get any available shot to whittle down their armor. This E4 is already at half health. He's focusing on the enemy that is his enemy that's onto his left. This allows me to get some side shots safely. Here I am again. I'm able to take out that E4 by a nice good shot onto the E4's cupola right there. And now I have enough confidence to be able to just roll up. I angled my armor, my tank a little bit to try and have my shot be absorbed into the tracks, bounce off the side. It worked. And now I go and face hug here. I didn't know if he was shooting premium or not, but I was going to try and take the chance of putting my turret in his face. That would be the strongest part of my tank. And I distract him enough to allow my teammate to go and finish him off after I put a nice good shot into his lower plate. Now it comes into the farming part of this game. There is a waffle running away. I was assuming that he was ready to go and just fleeing, but it turns out he was also reloading, so we're safely able to just farm him, get rid of him. Nothing really to explain here. I'm just trying to play it safe in case he is ready to fire, but the team manages to knock him down really quickly, and I managed to finish him off with the killing blow here. Now, I'm just going for opportunities right now. I was trying to aim to get a nice good tracking shot but on that prototype, but it didn't work. He got taken out beforehand. I do a good shot almost killing the Scent 1 there, but I just leave, back away. I know that I'm not going to get the kill on there, and I just let my team deal with it, and thus I go and turn my attention to the tanks in the middle here. Now, I knocked down a tree, not really worried about that. I have cover to my right, and I was unspotted at the time. So now I'm just going to try and support the middle from where I'm at. I didn't push down because there's that nice big open area that the enemy could have shot at me, and I would be presenting my weak top of the tank going down that slope. So I just stayed right here because I had some cover. I got detected here, and I didn't know what, so I figured, okay, I'm detected. I'm going to just push down into this ridge. I'll be safer here. Lo and behold, there is a tank up there in the, like, G9 area, but he's not able to pen me. The 215B is distracted elsewhere, so I put a nice good shot into him, putting him back in, put a nice good shot into that Leopard 1. Very nice. The gun is working for me, doing as I need it to do, working as intended, whatever you want to call it. Make it a meme, I don't care. The 215B is rushing here, and so I'm just going to try and put a track shot into it. It works. I ram him, trying to see if I could reset his track repair time. And now, I apologize for the dog in the background. The male is here. And team manages to finish him off with a kill. I take a shot here. And under the pressure here, my team has decided to start capping for some reason. I did not think it was actually going to be a close game. But, you know, right here, I was debating whether or not I wanted to go back in and cap. But the aggressive part of me was like, no, I'm going to try and push the enemy back to allow our team to cap, because I figured they weren't even going to get off the cap to begin with. So I just didn't care. I was going for that damage, and I missed the shot in the Leopard 1 there, but I got enough health to be able to take another shot. The shot bounces, and now I'm just trying to see if I can get a good shot here on the 432. Bounces off the side, 432, and now the base gets captured. I was pretty bummed about that. There was more damage to farm, but the results of this game was satisfying enough for me to figure that it'd be a nice replay. And as you can see here, I do almost 5,500 damage there. High caliber metal, and you know, I still had my 3 marks of excellence on there, didn't drop overall, but you can see the capabilities of the tank in this replay, regardless of the fact that it was still a cap out and we didn't destroy all the enemies. But you can see the potential of this tank. It is very good, very flexible, and for those that have played tanks like the 48 Patton, you will feel right at home in this tank. And that concludes today's video on how to play the T110E5. I'd like to thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos like this one, don't forget to subscribe. But until next time, this has been Darren of WotC Academy.